What if I told you that 88% of your thoughts, actions, and habits were living underground? I'm Jessie Santiago, a clinical hypnotherapist and instructor, and today I'm going to be walking you through one of the most important models of hypnosis, and it's called the theory of mind. If you've ever felt stuck like you're working against yourself, this is the framework that explains what that's all about. But more importantly, it's the framework that shows you how you can start planting new seeds so that new patterns can begin to grow. So, to help you understand better, take a look at this graphic: the primitive mind, fight, flight, or freeze. I'm sure you've heard of these words before, and I'm sure you felt them all too well. So, the primitive mind is there for emergency purposes only. It is challenging because at a time like today, where we have all sorts of things bombarding us: stress, overstimulation, work, family, all of the things. What can happen sometimes is that we slip into these fight, flight, or freeze modes, which sometimes people call survival mode. I'm sure you understand where I'm going here. Feelings that you're feeling in fight, flight, or freeze, or the primitive mind, are really only meant to be felt when you're actually fighting for your life, which isn't actually every day, believe it or not. So let's move on to the known associations, right above the primitive mind. So you'll notice here that's still below the surface, it's still underground. See where it says safe zone. These known associations start to come online as soon as you're born. You start to make known associations to your parents, to your family, to the surroundings. And as you grow up, you know that you like strawberries and you don't like green beans, or you like cats and you don't like dogs, or whatever it is. Whether you register it as positive or you register it as negative, they're both still safe because you know them. So when you try to invite something into the mind that's unknown, typically it registers in the whole entire system as fear. So that's why it's so challenging for us to make new patterns. So we might look at exercise and say, we don't like exercise. We categorized that as negative. We know in our logical mind that exercise is not a negative thing. It's actually really healthy for us. So now let's move up to the critical mind. You'll see it in the orange little square. The critical mind, as you can see here, you have a little arrow pointing down to this gate. The critical mind is the gatekeeper of your whole entire subconscious mind. So it's important for you to understand the critical mind because that's the part of the mind that we're really working with when we're doing clinical hypnosis. So the critical mind is the very thing that tries to keep everything in the subconscious mind exactly the same. It pushes out anything that it doesn't know and says, nope, I don't know that. I register it as fear, so it has to go. And so it wants to try to keep everything right below the surface exactly the same because that's what it deems safe. So the critical mind comes online around the age of 8 to 10 years old, around the time that someone might realize that Santa Claus isn't real. And that part of the mind was so surprised when that happened that it was like, I'm never going to let that happen ever again. So from this point on, I'm going to be very critical about what new information comes in. So it creates that gate that says nothing new can enter in and nothing that I currently know can exit. So these are all of our current belief systems lying below the surface that we might not have realized were there this whole entire time. So that's a critical mind. So from the critical mind all the way down to the primitive mind, that is our subconscious ground. Okay. Those are things that are below the surface, operating without our knowledge and without us even trying. So then we move up to the conscious mind up here. And the conscious mind is where our logic, our reasoning, our willpower, our analysis, all of that kind of thing lives here. It is also the loudest part of our mind. We oftentimes think that the loudest part of our mind is the most powerful part of our mind, but that's not actually true. You can actually see here that the conscious mind is only 12% and the subconscious mind is 88%. So, which one do you think is winning out? So, the conscious mind and the subconscious mind don't always agree. Using the earlier example of exercise, I'd like to exercise more. It's good for my health, and that's what I want to do. And the subconscious mind says, no, we see exercise as negative. So now we have an incongruence. And that's where we start to have those challenges when we feel like we're working against ourselves. So, what hypnosis does is it's kind of like this sunshine up in the corner. It allows new thoughts, habits, and suggestions to be gently planted down in those known associations. It will allow that new information to come in as if it's always been there. So, in hypnosis, what we do is we get you in a really relaxed state and we suggest these new habits, these new thoughts, and we hope that your subconscious mind takes a hold of them and starts to realize that, oh, this is normal. We've always understood this to be true, rather than the critical mind just automatically pushing those things out. That is the theory of mind, and that is how hypnosis works. So I'm very excited to share this information with you because most likely you're probably on your way to come and see me or another clinical hypnotherapist for treatment. If you want to talk any more about it, I'm here. Thanks so much for listening. I'm Jessie Santiago, and bye.